mark our anniversary next today as we celebrate. Let us remember that James Franklin Community College has had this program on its campus for 28 years. The mission of Student Support Services is to help students remain in school, successfully complete a course of study, and graduate. Student Support Services strives to fulfill its mission of retention and graduation by providing a variety of services to eligible students. This program stands ready to serve you with the highest level of interest, commitment, and support. We take pride in the professionalism and caring attitudes of our entire staff. So today, we would like to welcome each of you to our annual TRiO celebration. At this time, I would like to recognize our special guest today, and we have one that is at the door, and I'll wait till she comes in, and I'll get her in a moment. Our Associate Vice President, Mr. Brian Jones, is here with us today. We have a Board of Trustees member coming in.
Mr. Johnson, are we all right?
Ms. Deborah Morris, if you'll give her a hand. And at this time, I'm going to take my seat. I'll get back up at a later date.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Dennis, and I will be your speaker today. So, first we'll have Mr. Brian Jones.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you all for coming. And you know, TRiO is something that's very special. I can't help but acknowledge Ms. Deborah Marcy here, because she is probably the reason we're having all these TRiO programs. Her vision many years ago, we were just talking earlier about this, is the 28th year of student support services here at James Front. And her vision, I guess in the late 80s, I guess it was, to first bring student support services here. And then in the late 90s, we brought talent search and upward bound to James Front. And James Front remains the only community college in North Carolina that has all three of those original TRiO programs. So that's something that we're very proud of to have here. But student support services is something that I have a lot of passion for, because you guys as students need that support. You need that services. And they provide it in many different ways. Rather it be financial literacy, rather it be academic advising, preparing you for your classes. As everybody knows, they got to register here in the next few weeks for pre-registration, so I hope everybody's taking advantage of that period. Just put that plug in there. But also with transferring to a four-year college. And that's something that TRiO has kind of evolved a little bit over the years, but that's something that is a major focus now. So I do hope that many of you will consider going on and transferring to a four-year college, which Ms. Hill and the team does a fantastic job of having college representatives here on a regular basis. And of course, there's two right out there today for you to be able to talk with. But TRiO just means so much. It's a program that we have all across the country, but there's not that many of them around here. And it's something that I think James Front stands out with. And it's definitely a pride and joy. I certainly thank Ms. Devon Vivens and all of her team. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Melvin Felton, who's a retired member of, after 20-some years with TRiO. And so Ms. Pamela Morgan, I think you were here when it first started. So, you know, it's we have a lot of history there, and many hundreds, if not thousands, of students have gone through the TRiO program and have done great things as a result of that support system. So certainly commend you all for being here, certainly commend you for being part of TRiO, and certainly encourage you to continue to do great things. Thank you very much.
Now we'll have a basic plug with TRiO staff.
I've got the privilege of doing the introduction of the TRiO staff. So whenever I say your name, if you don't mind, please stand. First, we've got Ms. Rosina Devon Bevins, which is the Director of Student Support Services as well as Upper Bound. Morgan, the tutor coordinator. Mr. Foster Ikaki, our math skills advisor. Ms. Carol Madigan, our academic advisor. Ms. Lydia Woodard, our administrative assistant for TRiO Student Support Services. Mr. Lee Williams, our pre-college advisor for Upper Bound.
It's not here.
And Ms. Brittany Jefferson, pre-college advisor for Upper Bound.
Now we're going to have tutors by Ms. Pamela Morgan.
I am Emily Morgan, the tutor coordinator for Student Support Services. And we're talking about 28 years that it has gone by. And I remember, this is a little history, I remember I was a student here at James Front. I graduated from James Front many years ago. And then interviewed in Ms. Deborah Marcy's office, which that interview process has changed through the years as well. And she actually hired me, so I'm very appreciative of that. Kept me around, and almost 28 years, October. I'm getting showing a little bit of my age there. Maybe I'll be able to join Miss Marcy and Mr. Felton in just a few short years to come back as a retiree maybe. But I do want to thank all of the tutors. We've had a lot of tutors throughout the years that I've been here, and every year it's always worked out. I had hired some great tutors. Some have stayed with me for a while. And today I want to recognize them for all of their hard work and thank them for everything that they continue to do to help our students, to help our program be successful here at James Front. They work hard to be able to help the students to do well in the classes, make the grade, pass, and I know it's a good feeling for them as well as for us for all the work as we work with students along the way to help them to see them be able to graduate. And maybe some of the students this time that we've helped in fall and spring, we'll be able to see them walk across the stage pretty soon in May. So we're excited about that. At this time, get Rosina, if you'd like, Ms. Rosina, to come forward to help me out a little bit. So far this year, we've hired 18 tutors, and the semester's not over. Students still keep coming in, asking for help, and we'll help you right up to the end. And we will hire some students. So we have tutoring available somewhere if you are attending classes. But the certificate reads, Certificate of Appreciation, TRiO Student Support Services at James Front Community College recognizes, tutor's name, in appreciation of your commitment to providing tutorial services for James Front Community College and the TRiO Student Support Services program participants throughout the 2017-2018 year. And it's signed by myself and our director, Ms. Rosina Von Bivens, director of TRiO Student Support Services and Upper Bound program. So I know some of our tutors are not here, but I would like to still recognize them. And for those that I see, I'll try to pause it. And I would like as I call your name, if you're here, to please come forward. Lakezia Allen, Alicia Bennett, Crystal Derry, Sydney Dewar, Mr. Melvin Felton Jr. So he retired and I brought him back to work again. Here's history courses for us. Miss Stacy Floyd. Stacy's been working with me for a while, so she can tutor in a lot of different classes. From math to English to psychology, and it sort of keeps going. Spanish just keeps going. So that's great. Jennifer Guntner. James Hayes, or Mr. Jim Hayes. He started working in the summer. I had to ask him earlier because the time has really flown by. But I'm very glad he tutors in mathematics and also has started teaching part-time here as well. Dinah Jordan, Gracie Justice, Dr. Charles Corman, Davion Lane. I know some are in class, and some are actually not working with us this semester, so we're able to attend. Giovanni Lopez, Rachel McKee, Christopher Miller, Mary Lane Rass. Been working all morning. She's probably going to set this next slide to go work again, but we're thankful for her. She started working with us tutoring biology courses, anatomy and physiology, and chemistry. Miss Loretta Smith and Matthew Tyndall. Thank you.
So, Mr. Wallace will be here, he'll be here as soon as possible at a later time. Now we will have the chair speaker's introduction, Mr. Aaron George.
Good morning, everyone. Today I have the privilege of introducing Mr. James Hayes as one of our speakers for this morning. Mr. Hayes was born in New York State and was raised in a military family on Army posts around the country and overseas. He attended the U.S. Military Academy, graduating with a commission in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Mr. Hayes later earned a Master's of Science degree in Applied Mathematics from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. During his military career of 27 years, he had both domestic and overseas assignments. The most personally rewarding were resident engineer in the Baltimore Engineer District, assistant professor of mathematics at the U.S. Military Academy, and public works director for Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Upon military retirement, he became a federal employee of 17 years and was responsible for operating, maintaining, and building facilities worldwide for several agencies. When Mr. Hayes retired from the government in 2015, he and his wife moved to Wallace, North Carolina. They have 2 grown sons. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Hayes.
Kind of loud. So thank you very much for having me here today to speak. So when I was asked to speak, was said, tell us about how you got to where you are, right? So I got to thinking about that, and I was reminded of some neighbors I used to have in a place where we used to live long ago, who used to travel all the time. They were constantly gone 2-3 times a year, and every time they went, they'd take pictures all over the place. And some folks in this room are old enough to know what a carousel is, right? Where you used to put slides in there. And so whenever they came back from a trip, what they would do is they'd invite the neighborhood over and they would show us these slides, right? And we dreaded it. Because what would happen is they'd have 2 and 3 carousels of slides. They'd put it in the slide projector and they go, we went here, we went here, we went here. The next day we went here and here and here and here and here. And then the next day here and here. And it was like that. And so after a while, you're looking as you watch, and all the pictures are starting to look the same, and you're thinking, when is this going to be over, right? And why was it boring, right? Well, because it didn't tell a story. You know, it didn't tell you anything about what they learned when they went on these trips. They didn't tell you about what they learned about the culture or the people or the history or the architecture or the cuisine or the geography or wherever it is that they went. They were just showing pictures, right? That's boring, right? So it's not so much the trip, it's the story, right? When you go through life. Life is like that. You can talk about where you've been and what you've done, but it's what you have learned as you've gone through life, right? It's not, I could tell you I've traveled all over South America, I've traveled all over the Middle East, I've traveled all over the Far East. I mean, I could tell you all these things, that doesn't mean anything to you. What have I learned, right? So how do you learn as you go through life? Well, you learn through traveling and you learn through education, but you learn from people. You learn from your bosses, you learn from your colleagues, you learn from your employees, you learn from friends, families, associates. You learn from these people. You also learn through education, through reading, through relationships, through reflection on what it is that you've seen, what you've done, right? And in the process, hopefully, what you've put together in your life as you go through life, and I encourage everybody to do that, is sort of a rule of life. How do you comport yourself in life? How do you treat people? How do you improve yourself? How do you do things, right? A personal rule of life. I call mine my ABCs. And I want to tell you a little bit about it. A stands for the first rule, and it is attitude makes a big difference in life, right? So what does that mean? It means that you should approach life in such a way that you treat people well. One thing that I like to do is talk about abundance mentality. Has anybody ever heard of that before? Abundance mentality? There was a writer several years ago called Stephen Covey, and he talked about an abundance mentality. And basically what he said is, appreciate the uniqueness in other people, right? And that success, if you share success, right, with everybody, everybody wins. That's one thing. The second thing is assume noble intent. Acknowledge the goodness in others. How many times have you gone through life and you run into people and something goes wrong, and what you do is you say, well, that person messed up and they were doing it deliberately, right? How different would it be if you said, perhaps that person had a bad day and they didn't mean to do that, right? Doesn't that change the way things work? Another one that I learned from the Chief of Staff of the Army when I was on the Army staff there was remain calm in all weather. How many people work for people, right? They get excited about everything and they're in your face all the time. What does that do to your creativity and all of that? What it does is it stifles it. You need to have a sense of humor in life. Why? For one thing, it's healthy, right? If you're always worrying and upset, you know, that's unhealthy. And then finally, I think you need to treat everybody with courtesy and respect. So that's A. Attitude makes a big difference. The second thing is bloom where you're planted. That's B. How do you bloom where you're planted? Well, you need to be present in the world, right? First of all, not someplace else in your head. Did you know that most of the time people are thinking about other things besides what they're doing? Usually they're thinking in the subjunctive tense. How many people know what subjunctive means? Right? Would have, could have, should have, right? Most of the time you're thinking about that. And if you're thinking about that all the time, you're not present. And you're not doing well, and you're not feeling well. The other thing is that you need to do is to practice reflective thinking. Does anybody know what that means? Practice reflective thinking? That means making time every day to sit down someplace. Maybe it's on your drive home from work. Maybe it's in your favorite chair. Maybe it's when you're walking your dog, where you think about what happened during the course of the day and put it into context. You start from big to large. What happened at work? What can I learn from it? What happened with my family? What happened to me personally? What can I learn from it? You can make it a habit. It doesn't take much time, 10, 15 minutes every day, to do some reflective thinking. More mistakes are made because people don't think about what they do before they do it, right? And that's what reflective thinking is all about. And then the other thing is accept the fact that things are going to change, right? That's part of blooming where you're planted. The third one is continuously improve. And how do you improve? Mind, body, and spirit, right? That's how you do it. And I want to talk a little bit more about that once we go on a little bit further. And then finally, the last one is do your best in everything you do. So That has personal ramifications, it has family ramifications, it has community ramifications, and it has ramifications at work. And I could go into great detail on all that, but what I really want to talk about is continuously improving yourself. And in that vein, how do you do that? You do that mainly through education. So, how many people in this room think that education is something that you have to endure early in life as sort of a rite of passage, and then you get on with your life, right? How many people think that? Or is it something that you do all the time to grow personally? It's a stepping stone success and perhaps your most valuable possession, your education. How many think that? Right? I do too. I think education is very important. So I'm sitting here at a very advanced age, right? I won't tell you, but I was born in the last century, right? And I think education is very important. I try to learn something all the time as I go through life. By itself, you know, a degree, which represents an education of some sort, right, does not guarantee success in the world. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it doesn't guarantee success. For the most part, and for most of us, it's a necessary requirement to get a job, but it is not sufficient to guarantee success, right? You need to have a degree, but that's not going to mean you're going to be successful in whatever you do. But you also need, in varying degrees, self-discipline, commitment, curiosity, and most importantly, opportunity, right? And by opportunity, I don't mean a letter of acceptance to a college of your choice, a full ride, you know, and all of that, although I'm sure we agree that that would be great. What I mean is making education a priority in your life. That's what I mean by opportunity, making it a priority, creating opportunity for yourself. You need to conscientiously develop your skills and expertise through reading, certificate programs, continuing education, online courses, and most of these are available from employers. You know, you can be reimbursed for them, or they're available for free. So education ought never to be still throughout your life. You should always be concerned about education. So you should study history, for example, to find out why things are the way they are. There's history everywhere you go. The lessons of history are manifold. Nothing happens in isolation, and everything that happens has consequences in life, right, and in the world. We're all part of a larger stream of events, past, present, and future. We are the beneficiary of those who went before us. Those who built the cathedrals, those who braved the unknown, those who gave their time and service, that created this country, for example, right? Those who kept the faith in the possibilities of the human mind and spirit, right? And that's why we study history. A famous man once said that history is philosophy taught with examples, and I believe that that's true. Harry Truman said, the only new thing in the world is the history you don't know. Right? In other words, there's nothing new. Right. It repeats itself constantly. So you need to be students of history, even if you're a nursing student, even if you're a mathematician, even if you're an English student. Excuse me, I'm going to get some water here. Sorry, get excited, so my mouth is proper. So, and then Daniel Borston. Does anybody know who Daniel Borston is? He used to be the Librarian of Congress. He wrote many, many books. Very, very interesting man. He said that trying to plan for the future without understanding the past is like trying to cut flowers. Right? Cut flowers don't grow. Right? They'll die if you stick them in the ground. But you also need to study English and literature, because language, both written and oral, has power. It has always had power. Right? It created our nation. Think of Patrick Henry. Give me liberty or give me death. That wasn't just one thing he said. There was a whole speech before Congress that drove the country into war. The Declaration of Independence, those are beautiful words. Things that we ought to all read at some point or another. It built our nation. President Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, for example, his second inaugural address was very powerful. President Kennedy's inaugural speech, Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, and many others. President Reagan, when he went to Berlin, and he said, tear down this wall, right? He gave a long speech on that. These are important words. These are words, and they all have consequences. at the end of the day. It changed the nation, it changed the world, and it continues to change our nation every day. We use our language to convince people of our viewpoints and to express our ideas. And if we can't do that, we have severely diminished our effectiveness as an individual and incidentally as citizens of this country. You need to be able to express yourself. Poetry and literature demonstrate the beauty and depth of our language, how to express ideas eloquently, how to make the common uncommon. The language you speak, our history, literature, and poetry, all of these things have been given to us by our predecessors, sometimes at great cost. We should appreciate these gifts. It would be unforgivable otherwise. We study mathematics. Why do we do that? Just so you can be tortured in class like some of my students believe? No? You do it to learn problem-solving skills, right? To train your mind to think analytically, to apply your knowledge, and to arrive at a conclusion by well-known and accepted processes. That's why you study it. We study mathematics for the same reason we study art, music, and history. It's part of the human experience. It's what makes us uniquely human, these studies. Also, you need to learn through doing, but not just comfortable and familiar things. You need to stretch yourself. I know that's scary for a lot of folks, right? To do something new. We've never done it that way. I'm not going to do it, kind of thing. Or you can try to stretch yourself to learn something new. You need to develop new interests and hobbies. So when you leave this place, learn something new. Give of yourself to the community and to others. Get to know people. Do something for your country. How many people think that working in your community is doing something for your community? Working in church is doing something for your country. How many people believe that? I do. It takes all of us to make a nation, right? And most of the things that happen in this county and in the cities are done by volunteers and by church organizations, right? You're not getting paid to do it. You're doing it. You're giving freely of yourself to be able to do that. Thomas Jefferson once says, "It is wonderful how much can be done if we're always doing." Right? That's important. Then you need to take time to think because there's energy and ideas. There are benefits to be derived from critical thinking, problem-solving skills, expanding your horizon, placing yourself in the context in the world in which you live, right? That's very important, to figure out where you are in the world, right, and what you can do. So the language we speak, our history, our literature, our poetry, our philosophy, our mathematics, all of these have been given to us by our predecessors. We should appreciate these gifts and learn to inwardly digest these experiences. It's very important to do this. Lastly, remember we are where we are because we received help from others. There is no such thing as a self-made man, ever. No one ever achieved great success without someone else's assistance. As the old saying goes, if you see a turtle sitting on a stump, you know it didn't get there on its own, right? Somebody always helps. So I can't overemphasize that you should use the resources at your disposal to make your education a priority throughout your life. If you don't do it, no one else is going to do it. You need to continuously improve as you go through life. Thanks.
Thank you for that speech, Mr. Hayes. Next time, introducing Roberto Castellanos. Just a little bit about him. He's a former student out here. He graduated from UNCW with a bachelor's in science, public health studies, and he was born in Kingsville, North Carolina. Please welcome me and join in introducing.
Hello everybody, how's everybody doing today? Good. Well, I would like to thank everybody for being here and thank TRiO for inviting me. It's an honor. I didn't really think I'd be up here again soon. My name is Rigoberto Castellanos. I was born in Kenansville, North Carolina. I am merely 24 years old. I know I'm getting kind of old again up there. So a little bit of background about me is I'm Hispanic, I'm Latino, dad is Honduran, mom is Guatemalan. I know we moved around. It wasn't in the military or anything. My dad had a construction job. They like to move everywhere the job was at. And my mom, she did a little bit of crop work, so wherever the crops were in season, that's where she would go to. So I met a lot of friends, and I left a lot of friends. And I'm traveling to see South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. And I think at one time we went up to Maryland, but I was too small at the time. I can't really remember. So, and it all started, and I went back to Honduras when I was maybe, 4 years old. And that's when like a bad hurricane hit, so it was like kind of miserable for me. That's all I can remember. But other than that, I don't, remember the good parts of the countries and stuff. But it was still good. And then when I was 5 years old, I finally got back to the States. And I moved in to South Carolina. That's where I started kindergarten, the first grade. And then second grade, I was up in Virginia. Went to Virginia for about a good year. And then third grade, we moved back to North Carolina. We moved back to Duplin County. And that's where I've been here ever since. And it's been awesome. I've met a lot of people in Duplin. I know just about the whole community, just about anywhere I go, in the store or school or come back to Dance I always see a familiar face. So it's like home. So I graduated from Wallace Roselle High School, 2012, very long time ago. No, Wallace is still Bulldog, so it's like I always got to show the pride. I always got to tell everybody where it's at. Bulldogs, man, 4-time, 5-time champions. About you got to do it. That pride, yeah. So I know we got some problems here, probably from James Keaton or East Duke, ain't no telling, but that's what I like about it. That's what I like about the county. It's like everywhere we go, it's like we feel like family. It's like what high school did you go to? East Duke. Oh, I went to all the roads here. Trying to beat y'all. So that's what I love doing. So then I came to James Brunt after I graduated in 2012. I came to James Brunt. I was here for 2 years. I graduated with my associate in arts, so I could transfer. And when I got here, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I said, well, maybe I should start getting my associates, get these classes going so I can transfer. But at the time, I hadn't heard about the program of TRiO, which I'm getting here about. And so I graduated within 2 years and transferred over to UNCW. At UNCW, then I got my bachelor's in public health studies. So now I work at the health department. That was actually pretty fun. I kind of sort of knew what I wanted to do. So I decided to go with public health studies because I knew it was very broad. I know I'm being bilingual. I know they would need me probably up anywhere because in the public health area, there's a lot of minorities, not just Hispanic, blacks, Asians, even your white people. You'll need help in the health field, but somebody's got to do it. So it was great. And now I'm doing my so once I started at UNCW, I started figuring out what I kind of wanted to do, what I really liked, and that's administration. So now I did my master's degree. I'm working on a master's degree now. I'll be done in 6 months or 8 months. And I'm doing it at Colorado State University as a master's in healthcare administration. I like working there at the health department. I know just how the health department does now. I've kind of learned it on my own. Just talking with people, getting to know how they got there, how they got to be there. So it's been fun. And then after I finish this master's degree in healthcare administration, I do want to pursue and keep going and get my doctorates in healthcare administration. I know some people always tell me, you're really young. Are you sure you want to do that? I'm like, yeah, I know I want to do that because I know I'm just 24. I just turned 24 2 months ago. So, a lot of people, they're like, you're very young. So I was like, yeah, I know, but that's what I like to do, so I'm going to do it. If you set your mind on something, you can always do it. So right now I'm just trying to finish this master's in healthcare administration, pursue that doctorate. So I might give myself a semester off, 6 months, because you do get a little burned out after a while, your brain. But I'll get there. I know I will. And but through that time, when I went to high school, came with James Brunt, UNCW, including now my Colorado State University degree. There has been successes and there has been failures. There's been some classes that have really kicked my butt. There's some classes where I felt so bad that I got a C. And some people were like, wow, that's not bad at all. I usually got D's F. So I was like, well, I can't do that because I was not. So it's like I'm usually like an A or B student. So, but yeah, there's been classes that I kind of didn't quite understand what the topic was about, especially with this administration class. So it's been like, you know, with this degree, it's been very hard, it's been very tough. But if you set your mind to it, you can do whatever you want in this whole awesome world. And so I've been learning, but also some of the successes is I'm starting to see now how I can adapt to all of this, all the administration. I can put it into the health department, or I can actually apply it now to the hospital, or I can actually now apply administration to other organization structures. So it's actually I kind of surprised myself, like, maybe I did learn some stuff going, you know, to school. I've actually learned something. It's not all just about math either, guys. Once you get away from, you know, your associate's degree, you know, when you get in your bachelor's, you start learning more awesome stuff. So it's not just about math, so don't let that weigh you down, son. But, yeah, so I honestly wouldn't have known how to do all this or without TRiO. Because TRiO, when I first got here, I really didn't know much of what I wanted to do. I was kind of lost. TRiO kind of set the foundation. They guided me. If I needed any help, you know, just go and speak with one of them. If you needed a tutor, go speak with Miss Pam or talk with Brian or anybody. They're always willing to help you. You know, they will always say you can always go more than just an associate's, and that is very true because I've done it, and if I can do it, you all guys can do it. Because I know some of us, we think, you know, we're from Duplin County. Oh, what? We don't amount to anything. That's not true. I was born in Duplin County. I'm from Duplin County. Look where I'm at now. I'll be finishing with a master's degree in 6 to 8 months. You know, that says a lot. It means if I can do it, I know each one of y'all in here can do it for sure. And if I can get a doctorate, I know each one of y'all in here can go for a doctorate. Just because you're from somewhere that is a rural area or it's a rural county does not mean you can't do anything. Because I have some friends that graduated from high school that have only had maybe 8 graduating in the whole school, like their whole senior year. There are only 8 of them. Come on, and we have 100. So don't let that kind of nonsense weigh you down, telling you, you know, just because you're from Duplin County, you ain't nothing. No, that's not true. I got friends that are from Duplin County, and some of them are actually engineers. Some of them are going to doctor school, you know, the PAs. Some of them becoming lawyers. Miss Pam's son. I mean, it's great. It's like, doesn't mean just because you come from a rural area you can't do anything. So if I can do it, I know you guys can do it. And just put your minds to work, put it in gear. Don't stop, keep going. That's what I've been doing. It gets a little tiring at some, but it's like, that's what I want to do. You know, I want to be an administrator one day. And I know I'll get there. It just takes time. But and also keep working hard and don't worry about what other people are saying about you behind your back. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. You keep working hard and you let that success do the talking for you, always. Because I don't say much, but I've heard my name in the county now. It's like, you know, that Regal kid, he's very successful with this and that. I don't brag about it, I never do, because that's not cool, it's not the right thing to do. But I have heard some success stories from other people, how they really think I'm, you know, an awesome person and this. So that makes me feel good, but I don't like to say, you know, I got this and this, and I don't like to belittle anybody. So don't go around. Whenever you get to this status, like getting your master's, getting your doctorates, don't go and put people down. Don't look over them and belittle them. Help them up. Always raise them up. Because it's like he was saying, you know, we always need some help. And I've had some help, lots of help, to where I got here. So I know I'm going to help somebody one day get to where they need to be. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Martin Nancy Gibbs, you the TRiO, a former business graduate, a breastfeeding peer counselor, the ASCC graduate associates in general education, associates in applied science. So let me welcome Ms. Jasmine Robinson.
First, I would like to say good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is a pleasure and an honor to be here. When I was asked to come back as a former student, I was floored because I have so respect for this college and this program itself. I would like to say, you know, welcome to our board of trustees that are here. faculty, staff, students of James Park Community College. And honestly, it feels great to be home. I know that kind of seems cliche because little old Kingsville, little old James Park Community College, but if you've gone through some things and gone through what I've gone through, this small community college has made an impact, big impact on my life. So I forever hold y'all in my heart. The TRiO program has shaped me and affected me in ways that I still carry those more until today. I was a member of Student Support Services when I first started fall 2012 until I graduated in 2015 with Business Administration and General Education. Not even a month went straight. I took advantage of the North Carolina Wesleyan College Bachelor's Program, and as of April last year, me and my husband both graduated side by side, hand in hand, across stage last year with our bachelor's degrees. I did graduate with Business and Organizational Administration, and my husband in marketing. So we're trying to find a way to put both our worlds together and maybe work on our own brand in the future. Honestly, quite a few of you know me from when I was 15 years old. I was a participant in Upper Bound at James Kennedy High School. Whoop, whoop. Yeah. Honestly, I went, and I heard somebody say that. I am the breastfeeding peer counselor at the health department. I got the job, honestly, a month later after I graduated with my associate's degree. I applied for the job back in February, didn't hear anything. I was like, okay, I'm a rookie. And no sooner I graduated, it just seemed like God just opened the doors and everything just fell on my lap. So I do give God praise on that. I will tell my age. I'm 31 years old. Okay. It don't seem like a lot, but to me, when you see so much time pass, you're like, gosh, I'm getting up there. Like, a lot of things have happened. I know, you're like, ooh. When I went back to school in 2012, I actually have been out of school for 7 years. I'm a first generation graduate, but when I graduated from James Keenan, I was a first generation. My grandmother raised me. I was the first one to go off to college, to Elizabeth City State University. And I got so overwhelmed with freedom. You know, we talk about Duplin County and moving away, but you really have to make sure your mindset is prepared, because that world is a dog-eat world, and if you're not grounded with a sound mind, they'll chew you up and spit you out. And that's exactly what happened. I went to Elizabeth City State, and I was always an A, B honor, I was always an A, B honor student, principal list. And when I went to Elizabeth City, I got so overwhelmed with freedom, and then I never got attention from guys, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing, oh, you're so beautiful, you should be a model, and everything got to my head, and I focused more so on the party and fun aspect instead of my education. So in 2 years, I pretty much was on probation violation. They told me to take a semester off, like, you really need to find yourself. And at that moment, I knew I had to figure out why I was doing what I was doing, not just everybody telling me, hey, you need to go to college. It took me 7 years to get back to school. And you guys know, the longer you wait to get your education, the more you allow life to happen, the more responsibilities you have, and the more mess you pretty much have to clean up, okay? So when I got, and that, again, loans went to default, because you still have to pay those back. So I had to get my loans out of default. It took me a whole year working paycheck to paycheck to get my loans out of default. And when I finally got that green light and got accepted to James Park Community College, and they told me I can go back to school, and I qualified again for financial aid, I was like, God, I thank you for my second chance, and I promise you I won't mess it up this time. Within those 5 years, I went to school full-time except for one semester. 4 of those years, I had a full-time job. 2 of those years I worked out of 4. I worked 6 days a week, worked 48 plus hours. Within those 5 years, I had 2 kids, which both I breastfed fully. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And people ask me why I go so hard, because it all depends on your mindset. Because I didn't think I was even going to have this opportunity again. And once I got back in school, it's funny because they pick on me now. birthday parties, family reunions, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I always had a book. I always had a book. I was always doing homework. And it was like, you can put this aside later. But I did learn at ACA, use them 10, 15, 20-minute increments that you have free. And that's what kept me afloat. Even at work, I always took a textbook to work. And I worked third shift 2 of those years. I worked third shift and I always took a book. And whenever I had 15, 20 minutes breaks, instead of gossiping or just having fun, I was in my book work. Because I knew no matter what was in front of me, that was most important. That was going to get me out of my situation. The TRiO program, they welcomed me with open arms. My grandmother raised me, and God knows she did the best she could, but there was so much about education she didn't know. And I thank God for that woman. Yeah, she passed in 2010. But I know she's smiling down on me now. I definitely made her proud. Whenever I came back in 2012, the TRiO program, they didn't care what I did, what I had come from, how much I derailed away from my situation or from my educational goals. They welcomed me with open arms. They never judged me. They saw my determination and they met my determination. So I say that to say it starts with you. If you play around with this, that's exactly what you're going to get. But whenever you put your best foot forward and they see that you're serious, it's going to drive the people around you and your support system, including this TRiO staff, to help you in the best way they can. To this day, I can call them and I know I can get a reference letter easy. I know I can get a referral easy. Even after graduating James Sprung, they made sure when they saw me, how are you? How are your family? What do you need? I still get the same respect and care and love that I got for them when I was 15 years old. So anyone who's a participant in this program, you're very blessed because these people have been dear. They have been very dear to me. I was reading up on student support services, and like Ms. Marcina said earlier, she said that the student support services is to provide opportunities for academic development, assist students with basic college requirements, to motivate students with basic college requirements, and motivate students toward the successful completion of their post-secondary education. You guys have met that requirement over and beyond. So I really, Ms. Pam, Ms. Lydia, Mr. Cocky, Mr. Melvin, Ms. Racina, Mr. Brian Jones, you guys have been so dear to me and my family. My daughters, they love homework. I was just telling Mr. Brian that before we started. Since they were brought up in an environment where all they saw was mommy and daddy into a book and studying hard, it's natural for them. They don't know anything else. I said, you want to do homework? Yay, let's do homework. It's like, my daughter, she's 4, and she's very smart. We work with her, and she got in trouble the other month. Like, really bad trouble. I said, you know what? No TV, we're not playing with toys, we're going to do homework. Yay, I love homework. I was like, that was not the response I was trying to get. But honestly, you guys, I just knew when my grandmother raised me to not bring home curses. She said, see what curses. I knew not to bring home a curse. But I didn't know how important it was. But now you guys have helped me and my family with our morals to making sure education, God is first, but second under that is education. So for that, I just want to thank you guys. You guys have been amazing, and please take full advantage of this program. If it wasn't for this program, I would not be standing here. And I mean, I went through, I don't know how much to get here. But either you're gonna see yourself as an example, or you're gonna see yourself as an excuse. Don't be an excuse for what happened to you to dictate where you go. Make it an example, and no matter what happened, no matter what you said, I know who I am, and I know what I can do. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you. We'll have Mr. Wallace with the music performance.
Sorry, I'm late. I thought I started at 12, I'm 11. Anyhow, I'm a worship leader, but I try to get something a little bit neutral for today. But but this song means a lot to me. I learned it several years ago. It's called Fighter, and it's by a girl named Jamie Grace. Been through a lot, she's seen a lot, and it's something very inspiring to me. $7 an hour, bill stacked on the counter. Got a baby on the way she'll have to feed. Pride is getting torn out, confidence is worn out. This ain't the way she dreamed that it would be. She won't ever ask me why. She's made up her mind. She's a fighter, got that fire, but she thought they'd fade away. Throws her fist up as she gets up, feeling stronger every day. When she gets down on her knees, she finds the courage to believe. She's a fighter who inspires me. She's got no time for makeup. She's got 3 boys to wake up. Never thought she'd have to raise them on her own. And some days she feels like crying, but she's holding on, surviving on the love that makes this little house a home. She sees it in their eyes, all the reasons why. Yeah, she's a fighter, got that fire. When they thought she'd fade away, throws her fist up as she gets up, feeling stronger every day. When she gets down on her knees, she finds the courage to believe. She's a fighter who inspires me. Oh, she inspires